I wanted to talk with you about why so many nomads are wrong about Asia. Today we're going to have a look at an article. I'm going to break down some of the statements that were made inside that article. I'm going to tell you the facts and the truths, where they're right and where they're wrong. Let's dive right into it. So this article has been published on September 3rd, 2023. It's on traveloffpath.com. The headline says, why these three cities in Southeast Asia are becoming hotspots for digital nomads. So they're talking about a number of cities in Southeast Asia, capitals, mainly capitals, and I wanted to break down what's happening here. So let's get started with this article. It's pretty interesting. They say when you think about digital nomads, one of the first regions that likely comes to mind is Southeast Asia. Here I have to say that this is absolutely true if people think about the Oriental lifestyle or the tropical beach lifestyle, the easy lifestyle, the good life kind of thing. They think about Southeast Asia. Why? Southeast Asia is very affordable, low cost of living, good weather throughout the year. For males, good dating opportunities. For females too, depending on what they're after. But you can see that it has a lot of attraction, right? Low cost of living, the food's good, it's pretty cheap, good internet in many places, especially the capital, so that definitely makes sense. Then it goes on. Let's have a look here. It says, with an array of fascinating countries that boast first-class cities, award-winning beaches, a low cost of living, and fantastic food. First-class cities is always a matter of perception. What is first class to you might not be first class to me. What might be first class to a multiple six-figure per year earner or seven-figure per year earner might not be first class to a lower tier nomad, a lower tier entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong about it. It's not about how much money we make. And likewise, even people that earn less might have higher expectations, depending on where they're from and depending on their childhood and God knows what else. Anyway, it goes on here. Let's have a look at cities they're recommending. They're saying here that cities, I'm going to quote this again, cities such as Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, and Singapore have quickly become favorites for remote workers. And report after report finds them at the top of lists in terms of safety, quality of life, and popularity among remote workers. Singapore is the financial hub of Southeast Asia, without question. Like, people who got cash, who want to invest it, they are usually going to Singapore. Singapore embraces a big chunk of the original US Constitution, and Singapore is, quite frankly, a safe haven in many ways. You got strong rule of law, and we've talked about this on the channel. You need strong rule of law in order to be protected against fraudulent activities, against whatever happening, right? Rule of law is everything. You know, it means that organizations, regular people, consumers, you know, they are treated equal and that the law protects all of them equal. Now it says here, while these cities are gaining popularity, there are also other cities that are rising in popularity. And it says, why Manila, Jakarta, and Kuala Lumpur? Kuala Lumpur is indeed rising. It's a trending topic. People are looking into it more than ever. Jakarta is a bit of a fake story here for a number of reasons, okay? Jakarta was never one of the main places to go to for digital nomads. And that's for a number of reasons, right? If you've ever been to Jakarta, you know it's a pretty ugly city. There's nothing special about Jakarta. People go to Bali because Bali embraces a nice nature lifestyle, beaches, luxury for little money. That's what Bali stands for, right? Cheap massages, outdoor food courts, blah, blah, blah. You know, having a coconut, sipping a coconut on the beach, that kind of stuff. But Jakarta isn't really one of the prime digital nomad hotspots in Asia, and it's not becoming one either. And here's why. Jakarta is quietly but obviously sinking due to a number of factors involved, and the Indonesian government decided to build a new capital on the island of Borneo. So to say that, and it's not true anyway, that Jakarta is rising in popularity is just nuts in my opinion. And it makes me question whether the person talking about Jakarta in this article is actually a person who has spent time in Southeast Asia or not. I don't know the person, but this is kind of a weird statement. This person even says, quote, these are the three major cities that are on the up and up. Seriously? Like, where are you getting your data from? They can't be on the up and up and up. First of all, Indonesia just changed its visa policy no longer allowing visa-free access to most people, except for people coming from Asian countries. It's ASEAN, right? If you're from the Southeast Asian countries, you can go to Indonesia without a visa. But if you're from a Western country, you don't need to apply for a visa, meaning a lot of people aren't going to go there anymore because they have lower hanging fruits to choose from. Like the Philippines, great visa system, nothing changed since the pandemic. Vietnam just made it a bit easier again, but you have Malaysia, 90 days. So there are better options out there. So people aren't going to be flocking to Indonesia anytime soon because the visa policies are just changing all the time. And second, now you need a visa before you can even board the plane, which isn't something that most people would want to get involved with. And Bali's great, Jakarta, not so great. Here, this person talks about Manila. I'm going to quote again. Manila is known as the Pearl of the Orient, and while poverty is still an issue, there are many nice areas digital nomads can choose from. Well, Manila is, I wouldn't consider it a prime hub for digital nomads either. I know it's gaining in popularity for the simple reason that neighboring countries have made it so difficult to obtain a decent visa, or just to renew the visa, or they have just really crazy policies. You can only stay for 30 days unless you applied for a visa before you entered a country. That's the problem right now. So many digital nomads actually left to the Philippines. So that is true. The Philippines is kind of place where you would want to hang out in a more rural area, you know, kind of like the beach lifestyle. But the problem there is the internet connection. In Manila, the internet's pretty good. I've worked from Manila many times in the past, been there many months. Internet's been pretty good, and that's already many years ago. So that's certainly true, but in the rural areas, the internet isn't so great in the Philippines, right? You got typhoons, you got a lot of blackouts, brownouts, whatever. The Philippines is a beautiful country. If you love the tropical beach lifestyle, if you love, you know, having this kind of aspect in your life, like just a connection with nature, the Philippines is great for that. So I'm not saying anything bad here, but there are also some concerns, right? So this article says the Philippines does not have a digital nomad visa yet. They don't need one for the simple reason that the tourist visa system is so flexible, is so convenient in the Philippines that I don't think the country needs a digital nomad visa. And by the way, this applies to anybody who wants to go to the Philippines. You know, you can extend your visa for so many times, right? And you can stay for so long in this country, where you take a look at neighboring countries and you ask yourself, you know, why aren't they doing it? Well, they have different intentions now. They are more focused on capital generation. They want capital injection from the richer people. So they kind of started cherry picking. And in Thailand, that has started a long time ago. In Malaysia, that has started during the pandemic, where the government revamped its visa policy. Philippines is the country that I'd still recommend to people wanting to live in Asia, for a simple reason that the visa policy has been consistently available, and this is what you want to focus on. If you're a digital nomad and let's say you're on a very limited budget, you want to make sure that you're going to a country where you can stay for a long time. You know, unless you got more money to burn, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're on a tight budget and you don't want to be taking a lot of flights, you know, you don't want to be switching back and forth between countries just to renew your visa, the Philippines is a great option for that. And here another statement about Jakarta, which I can't really comprehend. It says, well, it might not have the massive draw as Bali. Certainly it doesn't. The capital city is starting to make its way onto lists for being ideal for remote workers. I mean, just a ludicrous statement for all the reasons that we already talked about before. The visa situation isn't that great anymore in Indonesia, but that can change, who knows? And then secondly, they're moving the city to Borneo, the capital, they're moving the capital to Borneo because Jakarta is sinking at a rapid pace. What's the lesson here? The lesson here is that you should take everything as a grain of salt. Just because somebody made the effort to put up an article on the internet doesn't mean that what they're preaching inside the article is 100% correct. In fact, in many cases, I've seen so many YouTubers talk about subject they have no clue about, zero clue about. In fact, oftentimes they've never been to these countries, and let's not even talk about doing business in these countries. And then you ask yourself, why do they put up this type of content? If you don't understand something, if you don't know much about a topic, what you typically do is you ask for information from somebody who does. For instance, on this channel, if we're interested in certain topics, I'm not an expert at every topic, and I never will be. I have a lot of experience in certain countries, but hell no, not in all countries, of course not. I'm just one person, and to have a lot of experience in a country, you've got to spend at least 6 to 12 months in that country. Whether that's in one go or whether that's spread out over a number of years, you gain more experience as you spend more time in the country. It's logical. And so people who are putting up articles or videos talking about countries, they have no clue about it. I doubt that they have invested in these countries, probably don't have companies in these countries, don't know the legal system, don't know the situation of the rule of law, have no clue about the real estate situation, quite frankly also not the environmental situation, given the statements made about Indonesia's capital in this very article, which make you think that it might be better just to get first-hand experience yourself. Listen to people who have first-hand experience. And how you can tell that is when a person honestly tells you, I have no experience in this particular area, but I have experience here, right? But if a person claims to be knowledgeable about every little topic there is in any given category, you're probably confronted with a scammer. What's your take on living in Southeast Asia? Do you have any questions about this topic? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.